Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today we're taking a look at the top 8 deck lists for a 47-player event that took place at World Class Cards, which was in the US. I've not been able to track down where exactly in the US it was. I've looked on their website, can't find it anywhere. But yes, World Class Cards, a 47-player event with some really nice top 8 deck lists. A little bit of admin to start off, as you will have seen, unless you skip the intro, which fair enough. But if you didn't, then you'll have noticed we've got a brand new logo. Here it is on screen again. I am so happy with this. This was made by a online friend of mine, a long-term old online friend of mine called Rennie. I've known Rennie since, so some of you may know this is my second channel, or my only channel at the moment. I don't upload to my first one anymore, or at least I'm not at the moment. But I had a channel before this, which was based around Pokemon. And Rennie was in my first ever 100 subscribers, so has been a supporter of mine for a long time. I've been using him for art for a long while. He makes incredible work. And yes, he came up with this for our brand new logo. And there's also this version here, which I'm very happy with. Yes, if you're a wrestling fan, it is meant to be based on Bullet Club, or even Villain Club, you could say, as they expanded to be. But yeah, I'm really happy with this to a point where I am considering, for the first time ever, again, I had a first channel and I never did this on that channel, but for the first time I am thinking of releasing merch and putting this on a t-shirt. It would just be a plain black background probably, and then yeah, releasing 2 versions, one with Lorcana Villain and one with Villain Club on it. If that would be of interest, let me know in the comments. It'll probably give me a kick up the backside to do it sooner, because my long-term thought, as I started thinking about, oh, that would be cool on a t-shirt, was, well, you know, long term, if it goes well, we could switch this central character and have still the same skeleton style, but do it for Jafar, Scar, things like that. So yeah, those ideas are brewing. So let me know if that would be of interest. But yeah, I wanted to show this now. After this video goes out, you'll see the channel's official avatar and the branding switch to this. I just didn't want to confuse people right away. But yeah, really happy with this. But yeah, there'll be a little bit more admin at the end. But for now, let's take a look at the top 8 deck lists. So my information today comes to me from Lorcana Goons, a friend of mine, friend of the channel. Their video will be linked down below. I'm sure you know of Lorcana Goons if you're watching my channel. They are fantastic. They are a legend, so go and show them support, and thank you to them for compiling all this data. And I believe that the top 8 decided to do a prize split. It was a 2K, so they all walked away with $250, which I think is fantastic. In that vein, there are first, second, third, etc., but the placements are based on where they finished in Swiss. So we will go through them as such, but yeah, bear in mind they didn't play out the top 8, they all did a prize split. But first place in Swiss, we have Scott with some Steel Amber Tiana Bodyguards. This is a deck that did very well recently at the Pack Return of the Mim online event. So let's take a look at the list. We've got 4 copies of Ballroom Sensation Cinderella, none of the other Cinderellas to shift on. We don't have the Stout-Hearted to shift on to, nor do we have the Knight in Training. But this Cinderella, just being with Singer 3, means that we can sing Storm Rage on and Strength of a Raging Fire nice and cheap. We've got 4 Lilo, just to be a high quester. We've got 4 Queen Line, to be another 1-drop and another early shifter. We're not running Whole New World or any songs above 3 costs, so that won't be something we'll be taking advantage of. But still, a nice early shift for a big character that can quest to manipulate strength of on-board characters. We've got Simba Bodyguard to protect our more aggressive characters. We've got Huntsman, who also quests very aggressively. Only a 1/1 stat line, but also the ability Change of Heart. When he quests, you can draw a card and discard a card, so going to help us find key pieces. We've got 3 copies of Doc, Leader of the 7 Dwarves, 3 cost Inkable, 2/3, quest for 2, and when he quests, you lower the cost of the next character you play by 1, so letting us cheat out 5 cost characters on turn 4, and just in general, just give us more longevity with our ink and the plays that we can make. We've then got some Bodyguarders. We got 3 in this list. We've got 4 copies of both Hercules and the Prince, both 3 cost Inkables. The Prince quests for 2 and only has 1/3 stat line, but he has resist. And Hercules has a 3/3 stat line, only quests for 1, and it's just the Bodyguard, so slightly different. But also we've got Donald Duck here as another Bodyguard, a 2/5 stat line, 4 cost, only quests for 1, and stay alert during your turn. Your Musketeer characters gain evasive, so that does include him, so it becomes a an evasive character during his own turn, so you love to see it. 4 copies of Rapunzel for the additional draw. We've got 4 Mufasa, one of the best cards in the set, in my opinion. Really strong, just immediately replacing himself with a character off the top of the deck, hopefully, as long as we hit a character. We've got 9 non-character cards in this deck, but yeah, if we hit a character, it lets us keep really great tempo and cheat out characters. And then yes, Tiana, Celebrating Princess, 4 cost uninkable, 1/4 stat line, quest for 2, resist 2, which is really good, and what you give is what you get. While this character is exerted and you have no cards in your hand, opponents can't play action. So this deck is built in a way to let us empty our hand as quickly and as regularly as possible. It's why we don't have tons of high cost characters. It's why all of our non-character cards are pretty easily played, just to get them out of our hands and help control the board. So yeah, this deck just wants to create an aggro board as early as it can, get down this Tiana with some bodyguards to keep her safe while she's exerted, and just lock our opponent out of all their songs, and then action, well, all actions, but songs are predominantly what you see, but you do see standard actions like some Dragon's Fires and bits and bobs. But yeah, really shuts down opposing decks. And we're also seeing, most interestingly, 2 copies of Beast, Selfless Protector, our highest cost character that we're running, 6 cost inkable, a big bulky 2 and 8 stat line, quest for 1 and shield another. Whenever one of your other characters would be dealt damage, put that many damage counters on this character instead. So just acting essentially as another bodyguard, or obviously doing it in a different way. It's not a bodyguard keyword, they don't have to challenge the Beast, but doing the same job in, like, if they are able to challenge into Tiana, they're able to get around your bodyguard and then have another character go into Tiana. If you've got Beast down, then he's taking the damage. Well, technically, the scenario I just painted, if you had another bodyguard, the damage would have gone onto him before the bodyguard. So yeah, he just soaks up damage. Yeah, interesting. Like, we looked at Beast, the Emerald version, and a card that is obviously very strong, a strong ability, but just in testing for myself, and I think most players' opinion, is it's just too slow to come out and not immediately do something. Again, I'm not a big fan of the whole dies to removal argument, but for a character like that, I don't know. Maybe it's hypocritical to say it dies to removal, but it wasn't impactful enough, often enough. So I would feel like that this would fall into the same category, because again, there is a lot of removal. But if they don't have that removal and you're able to get this down, then yeah, and it led Scott to first place in Swiss, so maybe this is the new addition that this deck needs, and it makes more sense here. But yeah, love it. 1 copy of Smash and our songs, as we said. So yeah, Tiana Bodyguards, a deck that has sprung up and already 2 top placements in quite wide fields, so you got to imagine it will grow. And will you now be playing Beast Selfless Protector in your versions? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, congratulations to Scott. Moving on to second place, we've got Ivan with some Amethyst Steel Blue Fairy control. So the Blue Fairy here, who has evasive, 2 cost inkable, 1/1 stat line, but most importantly, Ethereal Glow. Whenever you play a Floodborn character, you may draw a card. So we've got lots of Floodborns. We've got Jafar, Dreadnought, Beast Tragic Hero, Yzma Scary Beyond All Reason, Tinkerbell Giant Fairy, and Elsa Spirit of Winter. So if we've got Blue Fairy on the field, we can just keep maintaining tempo, make sure we've always got options in our hand. You're probably not questing Blue Fairy unless you well, you could if they don't have evasive characters. You'd be more fearful of her dying to Teeth and Ambitions and just chip cards. But again, quite often the best way to play Blue Fairy is you don't play it on curve. You wait until you have enough ink, a minimum of 6, to go Blue Fairy, Jafar Dreadnought, or if you've got 7, Blue Fairy Beast, and get the most value out of it that way. Again, it depends what you're up against. If you're up against a deck that you know isn't going to be running any chip removal, then you can afford to put it down on curve. But yeah, that's the main way that this, one of the main ways that this deck is helping to keep tempo. We've got 4 copies of Forceful Duelist Captain Hook as a fantastic 1-drop, being able to get to that 3 strength with its Challenger 2, which we've talked many a time about being a very important number to hit in the first few turns of the game. We've got a bounce related cards. We've got 4 copies of Madam Mim Snake. We've got no Fox Interesting. We've got 3 goats, we've got 3 rabbits, we're also running 4 Maleficent for some additional card draw. We've got 3 Royal Vizier Jafar with the 3/2 stat line, but most importantly, I don't trust him, sire. Gaining evasive during your turn, so you can deal with the Stylish Surfer minis, and there's been a rise in evasives recently anyway, things like Ray, etc. So going to deal with that. Benja to remove opposing items like Sleepy's Flutes and Sorcerer's Spellbook and Fishbone Quills, respecting the meta. 4 Tinkerbell Tiny Tactician so that we have an easier time playing our Tinkerbell Giant Fairy out of nowhere, can get it down by turn 4, and again shifting means we do our ping with Rock the Boat, and then we can immediately challenge and hopefully get some good value off of Puny Pirate. And then, yeah, taking another look through all of these Floodborns. Like I mentioned, we've got the Dreadnought Jafar, which is a Floodborn, so will gain value from Blue Fairy, and can shift onto Jafar Royal Vizier out of nowhere. If you don't need the evasive quality, suddenly RKO out of nowhere, drawing a card. That's a wrestling reference. But yeah, I was wrong before. You could actually, from turn 4, get off the... If you played Royal Vizier on turn 2, something on turn 3, then turn 4, you can play Blue Fairy for 2, and then shift Dreadnought Jafar for 2. So that is a quicker way of getting that off by putting both the Fairy and the Floodborn down on the same turn. Tragic Hero Beast here for the additional card draw. Easement to bounce away threats or return our own characters and draw us some additional cards. We've talked about Tinkerbell. Elsa with that Deep Freeze ability, so strong to throw to slow the opponent down, or just to make them exerted so that we can get rid of them with our Captain Hooks, with our Dreadnought Jafars, and draw cards off of that. Our Tinkerbell, lots of value from this, as well as slowing them down. And again, questing for 3 and a 4/6 stat line is great. 3 Smash, it's important. Some things just got to go. The Docks, the Ariels, the Arthurs, not that we're seeing them a lot, but when they do come up, they got to go. 4 copies of Friends on the other side, and 4 Grab Your Swords for that additional spread damage. So yeah, really strong looking deck. Huge congratulations to Ivan. Going into 3rd place, and the first of our 3 Ruby Amethyst control, although they all share a particular trait. First of all, we've got Jake, who is running Shadow Bounce control. So we are seeing Arthur here at a 3 count, so I would call this a bounce variant specifically, being able to return a character to your hand when he quests and gain an additional 2 lore for that. So obviously that in itself is strong, words are hard, and again, a lot of our cards get value from being returned to our hand, like the Crab, the Goat, only 3 copies of Rabbit. We are running the 4 Fox here, the 3 Maleficent for the additional draw, the Snake to get off our perfect tempo, 7 1-drops. So yeah, preferably it's turn 1 1-drop, turn 2 Snake. That's the way we like to curve Ruby Amethyst. Also running 4 copies of LeFou to protect our characters. A great combo piece with Arthur to quest with him, return a character, and then put down LeFou to re-ready to keep Arthur safe. One of the reasons that you really should be playing Smash. 2 copies of Fidget here, respecting the rise in evasives. Old man shaking his fist at a cloud. But yeah, we'll talk about that in the next video. But yeah, well done to Jake for actually running the fidgets to respect the meta, being able to immediately deal with Stylish Surfer minis and just the rise in evasives in general. We're also seeing the 4 copies of Stylish Surfer mini. Such an annoying card. If they don't have evasive, then there's not a lot they can do to get rid of mini until Dragon's Fire if they're running it, Tremaine if they can get a lucky hit because you don't have additional characters, or they've got to commit to the Be Prepared, or any later than that. Obviously there's things like Maleficent, but yeah, Mini can get a lot of value. 3 copies of Maui to be a nice rush response character with that big 6/5. 2 copies of Ursula to deny lore and to draw. Big and bulky, really hard to get around without hard removal. Elsa we've talked about, 3 Teeth and Ambitions, good for taking up the opposing fidgets or the aggro decks, or the Steel Amber Songs play a lot of characters early with only 2 willpower, which are nice to take off the field to take away their ability to shift, namely Cinderella I'm thinking of there. Only 3 copies of Friends on the other side, only 3 copies of Be Prepared, which I'm never a fan of, but we've seen it succeed before, and 2 copies of the Sorcerer's Spellbook. But yeah, I've left till last the tech here that I think really changes the whole dynamic of this deck, which we've talked about many times, gaining popularity. Peter Pan Shadow, not sewn on. 2/3 stat line, 4 cost, uninkable, quest for 2, evasive, rush, useful, but not the main reason we're playing. We're playing Peter Pan Shadow for Tiptoe. Your other characters are rush, gain, evasive. So our Mauis and our Foxes suddenly can deal with the opposing evasive. I mean, we've got Fidget here, but it's another way of doing it. And they just become more annoying and harder to get rid of. I would be all in on Maui every time. I mean, even if I'm not playing Peter Pan Shadow, I would be, but especially with it and a 2 count. I really like the 2 or 3 count of Peter Pan Shadow. I wouldn't go to a lower count of Rush characters after like making that include. That for me is probably a -1 sort of. Yeah, it's probably a -1 spell book, but then I'm going, okay, well, be prepared. But then again, that like I can understand their decision why they've gone 3 be prepared, because they're the more aggro version. They want to win by that point in the game anyway. They want to be flooding their field and just be constantly questing, returning characters with Arthur, re-readying, returning the food. They want to get that lock going. So I actually retract my previous statement. I think there is something to be said for playing a lower count in this variant. But yeah, I'd like to see the 4th Maui still, but other than that, deck looks really good. Well done for running Fidget. Brownie points. Congratulations to Jake. We'll do all our Ruby Amethyst lists in a row. Going into top 8, we've got Derek, who's also running Shadow Control. Once again, we see the 2 copies of Peter Pan Shadow. We are seeing the 4/4 of our Rush characters here. No Elsa. We're seeing the 3 count of Maleficent, not making it into all lists. We're seeing 2 Lady Tremaine, which, yeah, I missed that. I'm terrible at this. For Jake's list not running the Lady Tremaine. That's a statement, but at the same time, I think goes into the argument I was just making towards the you're more aggro. You don't you're running the Ursula. I don't know. I don't know. What do you feel about this? Do you feel like this list is fine without Tremaine? I feel like I'd still want it. I don't know. I'd like if I'm gonna go lower be prepared. I may even be tempted to go to a lower be prepared just to make room for Tremaines. I'm probably finding room for Tremaine somewhere in this Ursula and Elsa count. Because again, like if you want the game to go shorter, then more often than not, you're not even going to get use out of Elsa. So I love Elsa, but in this variant, I'd probably be removing Elsa's for Tremaines. But just my opinion, let me know. But going back to Derek's list, lots of similarities. We're not seeing the Elsas, as I said. We are seeing the Maleficents. We've got the 3 Teeth and Ambitions, all in on the Be Prepared, all in on the Rush characters. No Fidget in here, but again, we've got the Peter Pan Shadow, and we're running Teeth and Ambitions, which will help. We've got the 1 Crab to boost our characters, and it also helps our Stylish Surfer Mini get over opposing evasive characters. We're also running 3 copies of the Llama Kuzco here, which I'm a big fan of. If you miss your 1-drops turn 1 or 2, the game becomes so slow, so it's nice to be able to get down another character, and again, it's another way of extending your field to protect against Tremaines. So yeah, I do like the Kuzcos. But yeah, this looks really good. Congratulations to Derek. And the last of the Ruby Amethyst lists, we have Kyle, also with Shadow Control. So only 1 copy of the Peter Pan Shadow, but I still think worth calling Shadow Control. We are running 3 copies of Fidget as well, though, so we are prepared for evasives. Only 6 1-drops, but we're running 3 of the 2-drops, the Kuzcos, as we just discussed. We're also seeing 2 copies of Goofy here, who is like, I'm a big advocate for Goofy. Like I've been saying I've been running that in Mufasa for a while, and it was literally one of the MVPs of the deck. And like chapter 1, I was always playing Goofies in Ruby Amethyst, like really strong card to put out, baits removal a lot. So I've always been a big fan of Goofy, and yeah, he has made his way back into the Ruby Mufasa decks. But yeah, Carl just saying Ruby Amethyst, and again, they're running evasive answers. So but again, Goofy is harder to take out, and again, it's not just I think he's here less as that he can be an answer, but Fidget and Peter Pan Shadow, I think, are our answers to posing evasive. I think more often than not, we want Goofy to be sitting there and just questing safely and force them to have removal. But I like the inclusion of the Goofies. No Maleficents here, no Elsas here, but all in on a hard 4 Ursula. We're also seeing 1 Dragon's Fire, which I'm a fan of. I played Dragon's Fire in my deck in the online tournament the other day, and that's one thing that I do stand by. I really like it. 3 Teeth and Ambitions, 4 Friends, and 4 Be Prepared. So yeah, really like this Goofy, and yeah, fan of this list. So congratulations to Kyle. Going back then to 4th place, we've got Greg with some Steel Sapphire, Pawp and Ping. We talked about Jafar being anti-evasive. We've got Prince Eric, who is a great 2-drop going up to a 3/3 stat line with that Challenger 2, so really helps keep the opponent in check. We've got 3 copies of Mickey Detective with the Get a Clue. When you play him, put the top card of our deck onto the Inkwell, so good for accelerating. Also allows for a turn 4 beast play, or this guy over here. 4 copies of the bell. Later on in the game, if we've got our 10 ink, then this becomes an immediate, hey, deal with me or I'm questing huge. And read a book can be relevant as well, whether because you missed Fishbone Quill or you just want to double down and power into your whole new world. 3 copies of Flavisham for the additional card draw by putting him down and removing an item in play, and 6 is nice, big and bulky. We've got 4 copies of Cogsworth with the ward ability to hard to remove, and just giving unwind to all of our characters. Giving resist, unwind ability, but giving resist to all our characters is really strong, especially against steel decks. Really messes with their maths. We're also seeing, we saw it the other day, and it was my first time seeing it, and I was a big fan. But we're seeing again the 2 copies of Beast Hard-Headed, who is our item removal. We're not running the Benger, but yeah, Beast, better stat line, can sing our 5-cost songs, and can shift into our Tragic Hero, which again, I don't think you will be doing that a lot because you want to immediately challenge into something. If that was the case, you would have just challenged him with Hard-Headed with the 4/4 stat line. But still means that we can get our Tragic Hero Beast down cheaper and just extend our turn that bit further and have more ink to play with. So I like it. We're also seeing 2 copies of Cerberus with that huge 5/6 stat line. Short of a Maui, this becomes a real pain to deal with. Can take out a lot of the meta and often will survive the hits. So not someone that we've seen for a while, but Cerberus putting in a shift here. Also someone else we haven't seen in for a while. 1 copy of Robin Hood, Unrivaled Archer, 6-cost inkable, 4/4 stat line, quest for 2, and 2 abilities. Feed the Poor. When you play this character, if your opponent has more cards in their hand, then draw a card, and you gain evasive during your turn. So just another way that we can deal with evasive. Obviously we've got lots of chip damage cards here, but it's nice to have the option of Raw Vizier and Robin Hood as another way of doing it. And again, he quests a bit bigger, he's got a bit of a bigger stat line, and if you are behind in the resource race, then draw yourself an extra card. Tinkerbell we've talked about, fantastic card. Hades, an instant removal. Yes, we're fueling their ink, but sometimes it don't matter. If something's got to go, it's got to go. We're also seeing 2 copies of Tamatoa here, so shiny with that 5/8 stat line, 8-cost inkable, 2 abilities. What have we here? When you play this character and when he quests, return an item from your discard to your hand. And Glam, this character gets +1 lore for each item you have in play. So we're not running a lot of items, but even if we've got 2 of these down, that's still a 3-quest character, which is respectable, and just being able to recycle items back to our hand is strong. 2 copies of Nothing to Hide, a nice 1-drop, replaces itself by drawing another card, and just gets us information. Is this the right time to put down Bell, or play a whole new world, or whatever it is I'm thinking of doing? Is that the right thing to do? We've talked about Smash being a great card in the meta at the moment. For Whole New World for the card refresh. Grab Your Swords for the spread damage. Pawp's Good allows us to draw a card, but also has the extra ability where you can banish it to remove up to 2 damage from a chosen character, which can help with your Beast Tragic Hero if your opponent's able to put some ping on him and you want to heal him up so that you can continue to draw extra cards, and the Fishbone Quill to accelerate our inkwell. So yeah, a similar list to Pawp and Pings that we've seen do very well recently, but a little bit of, we're seeing the Beast, that's I've only seen that once before. And yes, Cerberus and Robin Hood, so nice cool addition, so congratulations to Greg. And then we have Tyler also in top 8 with an identical list, card for card. So, yep, spoke about all of this. Huge congratulations to Tyler. I'd be interested to know if, I'm going to assume they knew each other and this is a deliberate decision. If this is a coincidence with the 2-1 Cerberus Robin Hood, then that is a coincidence. So I'm assuming they are a part of a team or whatever and knew they were playing the same deck. But yeah, congratulations to Tyler on also piloting this to a top 8 finish. And finally in the top 8, we have John piloting some Bibbidy Bobbidy Bucky. So, we just want to discard. We got Bucky here with Ward to keep him safe, and when we play a Floodborn, we can make our opponent discard. And we've got Prince John here, we're also with Ward, and whenever the opponent discards, we draw a card. So this is pretty much our main engine. In that vein, we have Lucifer, who makes our opponent discard either 2 cards or 1 action. We have Hypnotize at a 4 count, which forces a discard, and we draw a card for doing so. We've got Sudden Chill, which forces a discard, but it's a song, so it can be sung. And then, again, any Floodborn we play with Bucky on the field also causes that. So we've got Donald Duck, we've got Dreadnought, we've got Tragic Hero, we've got Hercules, and we've got Tinkerbell. So our perfect curve really is turn 1, either improvise or putting down Simba to Simba the Future King, who lets us draw a card and discard a card. So, because you really need to find Bucky and Prince John. preferably 2 on turns 2 and 3. You need to either go Bucky or Bucky Prince John. So we need to find those key pieces, and of course we need to find the Floodborn and all that jazz. So yeah, love to see it. And then yeah, put down Bucky turn 2. Turn 3 can be either a Bucky or a Prince John. And then turn 4 we can play either Donald Duck Perfect Gentleman, who quests for 2/5 stat line, and at the start of your turn each player may draw a card. So this is going to help us replenish resources, and yes, they can draw as well, but within this deck in a perfect world you've emptied their hand, so they draw a card just to make you have to discard, just for you to discard it from them. And again, you just putting down a Floodborn on turn 4 after Bucky, that's the tempo you absolutely need. So if he's your only option, you do it. We've also got Dreadnought, who we've talked about being able to draw us additional cards. Are going to help us with our resource management, and 3/4 is a really nice stat line, surviving a lot of the early game characters that you might be challenging into. And of course, if we don't go Prince John on turn 3 or an additional Bucky, we can instead go Tiny Tactician Tinkerbell to open up a turn 4 Big Tink to get that discard engine going. We're also playing 4 copies of Beast, gives us additional draw, and again is a Floodborn, and 3 copies of Hercules, who again is another way of getting our turn 4 shift off, because we can go turn 3 Bodyguard Hercules and then turn 4 shift into this Hercules, so that gets our Floodborn Bucky engine going, and just such a hits so hard. Quest big, like nothing in willpower. 3 is not enough really, but resist 2 does make him a lot more difficult to get around. So this is probably my favorite version of this deck right now. It's at least in character count, but to look at non-characters, 4 improvise. Sometimes the math matters, but more than anything it's your turn 1. I need to find my key pieces. We talked about Hypnotize and Sudden Chill. With Strength of a Raging Fire, you can make quite a wide board here, so we can hit some quite high numbers, and Grab Your Sword as a 2 count is good for just additional help control the board. And then 3 copies of Bibbidy Bobbidy Boo. Return chosen character of yours to your hand to play another character with the same cost or less for free. So board state depending, if we were able to get down a 3 cost either Prince John or Hercules or Tinkerbell, we can then turn 4 play Donald Duck or Dreadnought Jafar, and then we can sing Bibbidy Bobbidy Boo with the 3 cost character that we put down and return it to our hand and then put it straight back down, which is going to make them discard another card. You can get double Lucifer plays off of this and just force up sometimes 4 card discard. So Bibbidy Bobbidy Boo is dirty. Yeah, I hate this list because it's so annoying to play against. But yeah, massive congratulations. Oh, and to Benja, respecting the meta for some item removal. But yeah, huge congratulations to John on some Bibbidy Bobbidy Bucky. And that's it for the top 8 deck lists for World Class Cards event. Nice big pool, quite a nice assortment of deck lists. Once again, huge thank you to Lorcana Goons for bringing that information to my attention. Yeah, a couple of small bits of admin. First of all, it's probably going to be Friday that my video covering my tournament run is going to go out. Hypercutting the videos so that I cut all the dead space takes a long time, especially like I only played 6 rounds, so shorter than the last one. But again, like if you're doing it for 2 or 3 games for every round, it takes a while. So it might be Thursday, but probably lean more towards Friday. Once again, expect to see the branding of the channel change not long after this video comes out to update for the new logo. And the last thing I wanted to mention was I've been thinking for a while that I want to get back into some light streaming. Straight away, it will not be on this channel. If I ever stream actual Lorcana, which I may in the future, then that would be on this channel. But anything, I will never put anything non-Lorcana on this channel. But yeah, I have another one, and I've been feeling the call recently that I might want to do a little bit of streaming over there. And the thing that I've mostly been thinking of playing is probably one of the only other games that I play quite regularly, and that's Pokemon Unite. I don't know how many Pokemon fans I have in my audience. I don't know how many Pokemon Unite fans I have in my audience. But yeah, let me know in the comments if that's something that would interest you. Although I'm also going to admit, I'm really keen to try out Power World. I know there's a lot of drama and controversy facing it. I'm thinking about trying it. If that upsets you, I'm sorry. But if that would interest you, then as always, please let me know down in the comments. And I need to start telling some stories, man. Like I did the podcast with Citizens of Lorcana, and it was such an honor. We got to talk about some things that I'm glad I got to talk about. But man, you ain't even started uncovering the Lorcana Villain lore, man. Like, I need to start like telling some stories from my youth. But nonetheless, that's it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please do subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit the like button to show your support for your boy, and we'll see you soon.